Good morning, everybody. My name is Jenny Smith, and I am the Communications and Events Manager for the Trinity Challenge. And today we are starting session 1 of the Youth Summit 2025. And I am hoping that my colleague Hamish will be able to share the slides. Amazing. So, welcome to the Youth Summit. As you can see on that front page there and on all the consecutive pages, we'll have a hashtag that you can use, hashtag TTC Youth. You can also use hashtag Trinity Challenge. So if you're tweeting about the event or if you want to share anything online, then you can use the hashtag so that we can monitor what you're saying and we can use it as part of the feedback. So just a little bit of housekeeping to kick us off. Feel free to use the chat function to introduce yourself, tell us who you are, where you're joining from, and what organization you're involved in, if you are involved in one, or any other information that you'd like to share. There is a Q&A function, so feel free to submit questions using that, and someone in the team will try and answer those questions, and we can either answer them as we're going, or there is a Q&A session at the end of the day as well. This is an interactive event, so we're going to do a few presentations first, and then as you can see on point 5 there, we've got breakout sessions. During the breakout sessions, we'd really love you to get involved, and we have facilitators and scribes who are going to help with the discussion, but we'd really love it if you could have your camera on, if you can unmute yourself at that point, and you can really engage with the topics that have been selected. We really want to hear from you, and we really want this to be a day of co-design. So I'll just quickly run through the agenda. So welcome and housekeeping, that's me. And then we've got an introduction from Dame Sally Davis, who is our chair and founder. Then we'll be looking at why this topic is important with Professor Mark Mendelson, who is the director of the Trinity Challenge. I'll give an overview of the summit and what's going to happen today, and then we'll go into the breakout sessions. We'll then get feedback from the facilitators. We'll do a vote on the final campaign, and thank you to everybody who voted before the event for to help us get that number of topics down to 2. I will tell you in a little bit which topics won and what we're talking about today. And then I'll give an overview of the competition that's launching tomorrow. And then we'll have a Q&A. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. And I will hand over to Dame Sally Davies.
And a happy new year to everyone. And a big welcome to this, our second Trinity Challenge Youth Summit. We really are, all of us, thrilled with the level of engagement and commitment we've seen in response to our first Youth Summit and competition. As many of you know, teams of young leaders from across the world have contributed their own innovative ideas to tackling antimicrobial resistance, and some going on to win seed funding for their own campaigns. But let me say, all the teams have contributed to the discussion and helped build this community of committed young voices working on this crucial issue of AMR. For those of you who haven't previously joined a session with us, the Trinity Challenge, I want to briefly explain who we are. I founded the charity Trinity Challenge in 2020, and it was as COVID and the pandemic was showing us how urgently we needed not only better data, better analysis and tools, but improved collaboration. And then that would help us, I believe, be better prepared for global health crises. As many of you will know already, this antibiotic emergency has been gaining some visibility across the political agenda, and new reports have highlighted the severity of the challenge that we face with AMR. However, we must all of us ask ourselves what role we can play in using our own strengths, we can play in our own communities, that we can play to address this emergency. Already millions die each year from AMR. Indeed, the Global Burden of Disease study shows us that AMR is the third leading underlying cause of death after heart disease and stroke across the world. That's awful. It's preventable. Today, we're here not just to talk about AMR broadly, but actually to focus on an area of the response that needs our attention, particularly yours, AMR in the food chain, in rearing animals. More than 400,000 people die every year from foodborne diseases, and of those deaths, over 1/3 occur in children under the age of 5. Most foodborne illnesses are caused by microbes, including bacteria. So you can see that as these bacteria become increasingly resistant to antibiotics, it will become much more difficult to treat these illnesses, and more people will die from foodborne diseases. And actually, that's exactly what we saw a few years ago in Hyderabad, in Pakistan, with typhoid. There are, of course, implications beyond human health. The spread of resistant infections in animals leads to preventable animal suffering and deaths, of course. And with 1.3 billion people relying on livestock for their income, AMR has the potential to devastate economies and those individual family lives. While we must do everything we can to mitigate the antibiotic emergency and AMR, we know that our mission will never be over. We need to keep finding ways to educate everyone, to prevent infection, to understand how AMR is working in our communities, and communities vary, and to harness emerging technologies. This means we have to absolutely rely on you, the young people, that you are the leaders of the future. You need to take ownership of the issue, and we want you to drive meaningful change. Through today's summit and the following competition, we hope to harness your enthusiasm and energy. We believe there's a pivotal role for the perspective and contribution of youth leaders and youth-led organizations in driving meaningful change. We've seen it work before. You can do it. As I've said to those of you who joined us last year, young people are crucial because of your fluency and adaptability in our ever-changing digital world. Your fresh perspectives and creativity matter, but most of all, because your voices are important. You have the power to influence your peers, your communities, and policymakers. So use them. So as you take part in this youth summit, we encourage you, as always, be bold, be curious, be collaborative, share your ideas and learn from each other, and don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to be the best you can. I want to thank you for your dedication to this cause of AMR. By being here today, you're taking steps towards a healthier, safer world, which you deserve. So let's make this summit and the ideas that come from it the resounding success you can. Thank you.
Thank you to Dame Sally, always with inspiring words. She really puts so much value on youth engagement and has really encouraged the Trinity Challenge to deliver this youth engagement project. The one that we delivered last year was really successful, and that's meant that we've managed to get more funding and more support in order to deliver this second youth summit and the upcoming competition. So thank you to Dame Sally for all the support. So next we'll be hearing from Professor Mark Mendelsohn, and Mark is the director of Trinity Challenge and a professor in infectious disease in Cape Town in South Africa. And he's just going to explain a little bit about why this topic is important and why we decided that this time around we would focus more on animal health and the food system as the big question for the Youth Summit. So thank you so much, and I'll hand over to Mark now.
Hello, my name is Mark Mendelsohn and I'm the director of the Trinity Challenge. I'm really delighted that you've been able to join us for this second Trinity Challenge on AMR Youth Summit. So much of our time in thinking around antibiotic resistance relates to human health itself. But of course, antibiotic resistance is a One Health problem. It affects humans, animals, and the environment. This Youth Summit, we are focusing on animal health and antibiotic resistance. And of course, that doesn't just encompass food security and food production animals, which we often think of, but also our companion animals, pets. Now, antibiotic resistance is threatening both our companion animals and our food security. And it's in food security that we're going to see the major impact. Indeed, in the next 25 years, it's estimated that between $0.5 and $1 trillion will be lost in cumulative gross domestic product. That's unsustainable. So we need new approaches to mitigating antibiotic resistance. But we don't need to just think about it. We need to actually develop action to indeed mitigate this problem. That's why we're looking to our youth, to you and your colleagues, to drive thinking in this critical area. Whether it's improving biosecurity on farms, i.e. infection prevention, to stop animals becoming sick in the first place, or infection prevention either in clinics or in the home for our companion animals, or the way that we use antibiotics, often called antibiotic stewardship. But it's really optimizing the use of antibiotics in companion animals and in food security and food production systems that we're interested in. So think laterally, good luck, and I hope that your deliberations and solutions will be both wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you there to Professor Mark Mendelsohn, who has been steering the Trinity Challenge for the last over a year now, and his expertise in antimicrobial resistance has really helped us to ask the right questions. So thank you to Mark. So now I'm going to give a quick overview of what's going to be happening today. If we could go to the first slide, please, Hamish. So this is just a reminder that we are running 2 sessions today. So there's one this morning and then there's one this afternoon. You only need to attend one of the sessions. We'll be running exactly the same session twice. This is just an opportunity for us to reach as wide an audience as we can and to engage some of the time zones that might miss out if you just run one session in the middle of the day. So we really want this to be a global approach and to give the opportunity to as many teams around the world to engage with what we're doing. And so that's why we've run in 2 sessions. So if you're here this morning, don't feel like you have to be here this afternoon. But if you'd like to be, then we more than welcome you. So that's just a little explainer on the 2-session approach. As many of you know, we sent out a voting link on Friday last week. And many of you voted in that. And that was basically, so we have the big question around effective use of antibiotics in the food chain. And then underneath that, we selected what was originally 8 topics that fell underneath that big question. And then earlier on, at the end of last year, we ran a stakeholder forum where we took that list of 8 down to 5 priorities. And that was working with some key stakeholders and sort of big global organizations to refine the list down to 5. And then on Friday last week, we sent that list of 5 out to you guys. And you voted on your top 2 priorities. So this is really about our commitment to co-design. We want you to be the ones who are deciding what's important to you, what is your priorities in your organization, or where does your interest lie, even where does your expertise lie. So that's why we decided to do that. So in a second, I will tell you which are the 2 topics that won in that vote. And then the final point is about breakout sessions. Just another reminder that in a minute, we will run the breakout sessions. Each breakout room will have a scribe who is responsible for taking down all the notes, and a facilitator who's just going to help lead the conversation, ask some questions, really get the most out of the time there. But the breakout sessions are an opportunity to learn a little bit about campaigning. What are some of the focuses that you can look at when approaching these topics? What makes a good campaign? Who can your target audiences be? All those kinds of things that are really going to help you finalize some of your ideas before the competition launch tomorrow, and hopefully will help you in responding to some of the questions within the competition outline. If we can go to the next slide, please, Hamish. So topics as voted for by you. So these were the top two topic selections when we did the vote with young people. So the first one is antibiotic stewardship in agriculture. And that's where we're asking, how can we find AMR champions within the farming community to encourage peer learning on ending antibiotic use for growth promotion in farm animals? This was by far the most popular topic area within the 5 that we pushed out as part of the voting. And the second one is promote biosecurity, including vaccination best practice. And here we're asking, how can we promote the use of prevention methods, including vaccination, nutrition, and good animal care to replace the need for antibiotics? So these are the 2 topics that will be discussed in the breakout sessions. There are 2 rooms dedicated to antibiotic stewardship and 2 rooms dedicated to promoting biosecurity. You will automatically be put into the breakout sessions. If you end up in a room and you think, actually, I really, really, really want to be in the other room, looking at the other topic, then just leave the room and you'll come back into the main webinar space and we'll try and reallocate you. So if you just have a look at that, but ideally we don't want too much movement. It's just me and Hamish here in the back end support. So if you just give it a go and try and get involved in the topic that you're allocated to, that would be fantastic. We will get feedback from the facilitators after the session, so you'll still be able to hear about what's going on, what was discussed, and what the focus was in the other group as well. If we go to the next slide, please, Hamish. So, as I've said, this is the first topic. So our communications, the head of communications at Trinity Challenge has pulled together a few points just to give you sort of an idea of what the focus is for this topic area. So a large part of the food industry relies on healthy livestock. As antimicrobial resistance grows, it will affect food production, increasing production and consumer costs. Antibiotics are fed too routinely to the livestock that we eat. They're used indiscriminately in large amounts as growth promoters. As humans, livestock excrete antibiotics into the environment, increasing levels of antibiotics in our water and food systems. So the use of these antibiotics in farming drives resistant bacteria in livestock, which can be transmitted to farmers, workers, and their family, as well as to consumers well down that supply chain line. So antibiotic stewardship in agriculture is the practice of ensuring that farmers and other professionals within farming industry and also decision makers in food production, their 2 potential target audiences, use the best practices to mitigate antibiotic resistance and its impact on human, animal, and environmental health. This one looking at sort of the full One Health approach, obviously, but a very exciting topic to talk about and something that a lot of you are obviously passionate about because it was the most popular topic within the vote. If we go to the next slide. Hamish, please. So this was the second most popular topic. So again, Charlie has pulled together some key information for us on this. So biosecurity refers to a set of precautions to prevent the introduction and spread of organisms which could harm human, animal, and/or environmental health. Again, looking at that One Health approach. For example, good hygiene practices on farms. The economic benefits of this avoids costly losses from culling animals and reduced production. So we know that when animals become ill and they have to be culled, it's a huge loss for people running the farms. So it also reduces the risk of zoonotic diseases, which are infectious diseases that can be transmitted between animals and humans. These diseases are often caused by a variety of pathogens, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites, and can spread through direct contact with infected animals. Consumption of contaminated food or water, bites from insects, or exposure to environments contaminated by animal waste are all high risk. So good biosecurity practices can aid sustained market access by compliance with export and trade standards, and then by adhering to robust biosecurity protocols, farmers can minimize risk, improve animal welfare, and ensure sustainable farming practices. So these are all just sort of some key facts, things to consider when going into the breakout rooms, thinking about your target audiences, who would you want to talk to about these things, where will the campaign have most impact? That's really what we want to be thinking about, is how to create a good campaign around these topic areas and spread most awareness about AMR. Okay, Hamish, if we go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the next part of the session is the breakout sessions. So this is just a reminder of sort of the housekeeping or rules or suggestions that we have. So I will open the breakout rooms and you can enter into those. The person in the room who is the facilitator or scribe will share their screen to show the Miro board, but you can also directly join the Miro board. So if the facilitators and scribes are able to share the link to their Miro board when they get into the group, that would be fantastic. And so you can type in there yourself, you can add your thoughts, there's a voting tool that the facilitators will show you how to use as you go through the different topic areas, but feel free to have a look at that. And then if you are not able to either use the Miro board, then use the chat function and the scribe will copy and paste your comments into the Miro board. If possible, have your microphone on and the camera. The majority of our facilitators are young people, and this is the first time that they're working with the Trinity Challenge, and we really want to have a good experience all round for facilitators and for our attendees. So the more you engage in the conversation, the better. And like I said, you can write directly onto the Miro board if you like. If you lose connection during the session, just rejoin and we will reallocate you to the room. So try and make a note of which room you're in when you get allocated. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms now. The breakout rooms are open for 45 minutes. To the facilitators, I will do a broadcast 15 minutes before the end, and then again 2 minutes before the end, just to make sure that you know when we're about to close, so you've got time to finish off the conversation. Okay, I'm going to open all the rooms now, and I hope you have a great time in there, and I might pop in and to see you as we go. Thanks, everyone. Okay, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for rejoining us. We're restarting now, and we will be restarting with some feedback from our facilitators. So I really want to say thank you to our facilitators for joining the session today and for giving us their time and energy and expertise to help steer the conversation within the breakout sessions. So we're just going to have 2 minutes from each facilitator, just giving some of the key points back to the room that were raised as part of the breakout session. So what I will encourage facilitators to think about is, I know that there was 2 sessions looking at the same topic area. So if you try and think about what's different and what's unique about what happened in the conversations that you had, that would be great. So yes, if you have the feedback to participants and attendees who are here and who are listening, if you think that the facilitator misses something that was really important in the topic that you had and in the conversation that you had, then use the chat function and you can share it there as well, so that people can still see the point that you're trying to make. Okay, so first, we're going to go to the first antibiotic stewardship group, and we have Ohemu, who is going to be speaking on this session. So if you are able to unmute, Ohemu,
Yes,
and if
yes,
you want
Jenny.
to, amazing. Okay, thank you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Liz, for sharing the screen. So our group actually focused on antibiotic stewardship in agriculture. And we looked at how we can raise AMR champions within the farming community to encourage peer learning on ending antibiotic use for growth promotion in farm animals. So we have 4 major tasks that were given to us in the form of questions, and our participants actually give their view on this. First, we are very amazed with the multidisciplinary nature of the participants that we had on the call: vet practitioners, microbiologists, and even had a programmer and a postdoc fellow on the call as well. So for the first task, the participants proposed that success for them will look like, these 15 major key contributions: multi-sector collaboration between local authorities, health professionals, and community leaders; incentives for farmers to follow good practices; increase social awareness, that is collective thinking; and success for them, will be when farmers understand when you need to use antibiotics, effectively. There are others, but for time's sake, you can take a look at them on your screen or on the Miro board. My colleague Liz will put the link to the Miro board on the screen for you, to have a look at. To move on to the second task: who has the power to create change? According to the participant on the call, national regulatory bodies have the power to make change because practitioners follow guidelines. Campaigners who are creative and persistent, health professionals, farmers union, WHO and the FAO, farmers and agribusinesses, researchers, institutions, and the universities and drug companies. They have the power to make change. Then number 3, we look at how will you reach the priority audience, from those that we have discussed in the previous questions, or those that have been identified in the previous questions. So the participants suggested that we can use local leaders to reach communities and farmers through education, through schools, that is raising future farmers and future leaders. See how youth can create change, as it has been done during in the climate change campaign as well. And then we can also do that by raising public awareness, provide evidence-based solutions to farmers, and then recruit an army of vets who will be social media influencers, and engage relevant ministries. And finally, agricultural extension workers. These are people who will convey research findings from the institutions to the farmers in the rural areas where farmers may not have access to internet or adequate electricity. Then finally, what is the key message that you want to land with your priority audience? To us, we want to land the following messages. Use antibiotics prudently. Understand the consequences of antibiotic residue in the food chain. Follow the One Health approach always. Safeguard community health. Address intensive animal farming. Importance of biosecurity. Generate actionable evidence. And then finally, the urgent need of a change in the food chain production that is feasible. So these were the outcome of the conversations that we had, and it was a very nice one because the participants were fully involved. They made all of these suggestions, and we feel that if this is implemented in different settings, we are going to have good results that will help us to curb the abuse of antibiotics in farm animals. Thank you.
Thank you, Ohemu and Liz. That was great. You've obviously had a lot of fantastic discussions. I did drop the link to the Miro board for that first feedback session in the chat. So if you want to have a look at that or go into any more detail, then please feel free. I didn't see any comments in the chat for things that were missed. So fantastic job, Ohemu, and thank you so much for supporting the session. So the next feedback will come from Chihab, who was the facilitator for Antibiotic Stewardship 2, supported by Emily Jones. Chihab, if you want to unmute and put your screen on. Amazing. Okay.
Hello, everyone. So thank you, Jenny, for the introduction. And I would like to congratulate first Ohemu for their group's work. It was really inspiring. We had a bit similar work on our breakout session. We had like a homogeneous, if I may say, group of experts from around the world. They have like different expertise, but we all have like, if I may say, the same vision or how are we seeing. So the first question and the first task of what does success look like? I know there are not much positives, but that was because not many members could join the Miro board, and my friend Emily helped with that. So we imagine success as lesser or purchase or use of antibiotic in the crops. And we see it as behavioral change regarding safe antibiotic use in farming practices among the target audience. And when we talked about target audience, we talked about from farmers to down the line to consumers. And so mainly we saw success as a reduction of use of antibiotics in the agriculture in general sector. So next we moved to voting of who has the power to create change. We had many ideas from each and every one of us, but we saw that the most common influencer of the change, and we all agreed on, and we saw it as the heart of this campaign, are the farmers. And you can see here that majority of us voted for farmers, and even with everyone's opinion, it was always about farmers as the axe of this process. And we had policymakers as a second target audience. We highlighted the importance of mentioning that all those stakeholders are important to tackle. But for our group, the main focal point are the farmers. So how to reach out to the farmers? We had different ideas, but the general picture is to raise awareness among farmers using all available tools, starting from social media to radio broadcasting, because we had inputs that some farmers do not have even access to internet. So we need to use every possible means to communicate with our target audience. And those target audience are farmers. So we needed to raise awareness through every possible mean: online campaigns, on-site campaigns, social media, radio, podcasts. And so, yeah, but the most important is to be in contact with them and raise awareness about that. And what are the key messages we want to communicate with them? We had like different messages from each and every one of us. There was no voting because every message is important. We need to deliver those messages. We had that we do not need, like, we had like more of slogans: do not use antibiotics unless absolutely necessary, only give antibiotics to sick animals and not to healthy animals, say no to indiscriminate use of antibiotics in livestock animals, ensure monitoring and surveillance of antibiotic use, irresponsible use. So if I'm gonna sum up what we did, we imagined success as increased use of arbitrage antibiotics in the agriculture sector. And who has the power to create this change? We said that we have here an input saying everyone has the influence and the power to create this change. But most importantly, we need to work on farmers. And for farmers, we need to raise awareness about the risk that this use of antibiotics is presenting to animal, global, and human health. And we need to use every possible mean, from social media to radio broadcast. And for the key messages, we want, I really loved one of the inputs saying, save our antibiotics, do not use them arbitrarily. And that's it from my part. I hope I was green. And if anyone of the participants of my group wants to say something, please feel free to mention it in the chat box. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and thank you, Jenny, and you have the floor back.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Shihab, and thank you for facilitating such a brilliant group and a brilliant conversation. So we are moving on to our third group, and the feedback will come from Rachel Bloodworth, who is our partner at Black Sands and who has supported the Youth Summit and is the creator of the Miro board. So thank you so much, Rachel. Are you able to share your screen?
Let me just pull that up.
Great, thanks.
Okay, is that showing up okay, Jenny?
Yeah, perfect. We can see it. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you everyone who was part of this session, and to Charlie for doing such great typing. There was so much to get onto the board, as you can see, so a really rich conversation. Starting with success, there was a lot here actually, from the sort of macro picture of reduced risk of disease and outbreaks, a really important mention on compliance with the programs being important, as well as adaptation of plans to local communities. And within that, that means languages and targeting the right stakeholders, so ensuring local adaptation. We would want to track how many farmers have been reached and engaged and become active. There was also a mention in this discussion on data and ensuring that within the process we can capture the information that is needed, and that might require some new data sources. A mention which I think personally is really important is that we would hope to have a positive impact on the economy overall. So really important that that would come into messaging as well as reporting somehow as a complex picture. A mention of stakeholder engagement. I really liked the framing of WASH for food in food animals. And then an importance of the bigger organizations really starting to innovate and thinking of alternatives to microbials. So whether that's probiotics as growth promoters. So you can see a really extensive list of thought starters on success there. Coming along to look at who has the power to create change, we ended up in a slightly more targeted place where farmers and policymakers did come out top of the voting. But as you can see from the board, there were many other audiences mentioned. So researchers, WHO and other multilateral organizations, the public were mentioned, including activists, and then also the pharmaceutical industry as well. Coming along to how we will reach these audiences, again, a really rich discussion with a breadth of ideas here. So just pulling out a few of the ones that stood out to me. We've got animal camps, animal health camps in villages, reaching the farmer networks through different ways, which could include radio sessions and town hall meetings. A social media drive did come up, as well as forums with local policymakers, and really bringing through that evidence-based data that was mentioned in the first section. Outreach programs will be really important, and so would mayors and local community engagement to reach and really influence those farmers. Coming along to our key messages, you can see lots of busy post-it notes here. So we didn't land on sort of one key message, but really lots of different ideas. I love some of the simplicity that came through with prevention is possible. We can face AMR with vaccination, but also we've got here the depth of messaging. So yes, we want to simplify to sort of top level messaging, but actually there is also quite detailed messaging that will need to sit underneath that and will also need to be targeted to the actual audience that we're talking to. So we've got a good record of some of those ideas. And then just to wrap up our conversation, we had some final reflections that I think are important, and particularly to mention that although these efforts are linked globally, what's going to be super important here is that we contextualize for respective regions. So just to say a massive thank you to my group for such a brilliant and engaging discussion.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks, Charlie, who supported as the scribe. I've also dropped the link to that Miro board into the chat, so we'll keep those live for a little while. So if you are interested to dive a little bit deeper into any of the comments or discussions, then feel free to do so. So now we've got our final feedback. Just to remind attendees that after this feedback, we will be voting on which topic this group wants to take through to be the final topic that is associated with the competition, the topic that will be the competition topic. So keeping that in mind while we hear back from our last facilitator. So we are going to be hearing from Mabruka, who was supported by Louise, and I think Louise will be sharing screen, but Mabruka will be doing the feedback. So handing over to the final team.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. The fact that I'm unable to share my screen nor like access the Miro board. Thank you so much, Louis, for helping with the screen sharing. Okay, so the first task for the campaign topic was, what does success look like? Where we asked the participants what they feel to be success in their own definition. So someone said that increasing the awareness and understanding of biosecurity in our homes and in our community at large. Yeah, and then someone said when every farmer is aware of the yeah, I think this is as well very important. Like most farmers are actually unable to know the impact of antimicrobials on their animals and the land itself. They think it's like the best way forward. For example, here in Nigeria, most of the farmers are, I'd say, ignorant. So I think this is also another way of saying it's success, because if they understand the impact, then I think the fight for AMR will be successful. Then the next one we have when every farmer knows the impact of antimicrobials on farm animals. Yeah, I think it's like this one and the previous one I just read out. I think they're almost the same thing. So there's another that says disease prevention and control. Then there's well implemented and monitored vaccination program and stakeholder engagement. Then the next is stakeholder involvement. And but I think that like these three, the pink one, and then the blue, and then the one beneath next to it, they're incredible feedbacks. Can we scroll? Yeah, sorry. Okay, I think this is a summary. It says that increased coverage of vaccination in farm and companion animals and increased understanding and awareness within both the community and the agricultural industry of the importance of AMR. Yes, these are like the summaries for what the participants' feedback have been. So maybe we're going to scroll next to the second task. So I asked who has the power to create change. This is, I think, a daughter to the previous question of what you think is change. So who has the power? And they responded by saying, okay, I love this one. They say farmers and consumers. I think this is like the main spotlight, farmers and consumers, because they have the power to like choose whether to buy these antimicrobials or yeah, I think that's it. Then veterinary specialists, government policymakers work with, yes, this one as well. It says that work with field workers and other professionals, direct access to farmers. So I think this main spotlight to me, in my own opinion, is farmers and consumers, and then media and advocacy groups. Yeah. Can we scroll down to the next task? Okay. It says how will they reach the priority audiences from those we've just discussed, and the one with the most votes says that for consumers, gradient scheme for food products act. I don't understand this much, but I think yeah, dissemination of the research findings in ways that are understandable and relevant to the consumers and farmers is one. Then someone says social media targeted messaging. Well, the problem is not all farmers have access to social media. For example, here in Nigeria, not all of our farmers have easy access to social media due to either the bandwidth, the network connection, or a lack of like smartphones, stuff like that. Then someone says working with relevant stakeholders like associations, government, regulatory bodies. I'm not so sure about it, but to me, I think like the best way to reach the priority audiences is like to directly go to the farmers themselves. If it's possible for like physical workshops and conferences that could invite the farmers, for example, in some kind of training of trainers, there's this taught programs. So I think that's it. Is the next topic.
Can I just quickly explain the consumers point?
Hello?
It's an interesting one.
Louis, I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm just going to quickly explain what I thought the consumers point was about.
Yes, please, because I'm also confused about it. I'd love to
no
learn more.
problem. So I think this idea was around when food is sold in stores or supermarkets, they could potentially come up with a grading system that shows responsible farming practices are then reflected in the food that we buy. So it could be an incentive for farmers to adopt those responsible practices because it means that their product is seen by consumers as better, more sustainable and maybe more attractive, and they'll get more sales at the end. So I think that's what the participant was trying to put forward. But if I'm wrong, please feel free to put it in the chat. But I can move us on to the next task now. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I get it. And it makes so much sense. Yeah. Okay, we asked that what is the key message that would want to be landed with your priority audience. Okay, someone says more biosecurity measures and that more antibiotics is not necessarily better production or good animal health. Yes, this is very essential. As a veterinary student, we're mostly taught this in our curriculum to understand that more antibiotics does not necessarily treat or lead to better production in the farm animals, because some antibiotics are capable of being transmitted even in food products, for example, milk. Now, someone says use less antibiotics. I think it pairs up with the other one that says more antibiotics is not necessarily better production or good animal health. Then there's another one that says for the government, please support farmers with subsidies for biosecurity. And another that goes to the farmers is good biosecurity practices will save you money. Okay. And then using correct dosage when administering drugs to animals, no overdose or underdose. This is right, because mostly the key elements that lead to antimicrobial resistance even is mostly overdose of these antibiotics on the animals, and as well underdose. For example, if the veterinarian says to use a particular dose of that antibiotic for a stipulated time, most farmers will just ignore that and then use what they feel is appropriate, of which leads to more problems. Then we have healthy animals, healthy farms, healthy we. There's another that says for farmers and livestock owner, healthy animals means better profits. Secondly, prevent diseases before it starts. Yes, this is a fantastic biosecurity measure. It's like having an excellent feedback mechanism, which is essential for public health organizations and other health agencies nationally and internationally. Then for policymakers and stakeholders, that there should be prevention, that prevention reduces cost. And investing in biosecurity and vaccinations reduces the public health burden on AMR. Okay, so this is the input for biosecurity vaccination best practices, and I think that's all, Louis. Am I mistaken?
That's all. Thanks, Mabruka. And anyone in our group, if we've missed anything or you want to clarify anything, please put it in the chat for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for these lovely inputs, and thank you so much for listening. So if there are any misunderstandings or misconceptions based on what's here, would like to know. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to Mabruka and Louise, who are our final feedback team. And we will now go to the vote. So everything that you've just heard, that you've considered in your group, we would really like you to vote on your favorite topic. Now, this is a reminder that the results of this vote this morning will be added to the vote result from this afternoon, and then we will announce this evening which topic has won and which topic will be taken forward as part of the competition. So it has to be both results added together in order to get the final result. So just to keep that in mind. So I have a poll created in Zoom, and I will launch the poll and then you can vote. If for any reason you don't see the poll, please put your answer into the chat and we will make sure that it's recorded as part of the final results. So I'll launch it now and then we can see. So you're either selecting antibiotic stewardship in agriculture, or promote biosecurity, including vaccination best practice. Those are the two options. I can see a lot of votes coming through now. That's great. If you're not seeing this, then please just drop into the chat either antibiotic stewardship or promote biosecurity, whichever option you wish to take forward. Oh, and thanks, Louise, for dropping the final Miro board into the chat. Oh, it's currently 50-50. Obviously, our facilitators have done a fantastic job at feeding back. Okay, we have got 9 more people that need to vote. So if you haven't voted yet, please do so now. The link that I have just put up in the chat links through to a QR code where you can vote outside of the Zoom call. So if you're struggling to vote, then okay, at the minute, promote biosecurity is the front runner for this group. I'm going to leave the poll open and I will give the results at the end. I'm just going to move on to give you an introduction to the competition though, so that we can get through and make sure that we finish on time and that there's enough time for you to ask questions if you've got any. So this is the second youth competition that we've run. We ran one in the summer last year and we ended up with 7 winners after we had 97 applications into the competition following our youth summit. 6 regions were represented and like I said, our judging panel selected just 7 winners from around the world, and they are cracking on with their projects. I know that I've seen a few names on the attendee list today that includes some of our winners, so thank you for joining us if you're here. We really appreciate you continuing to engage with the Youth Summit, especially those who are in Ecuador, because I'm pretty sure it's about 5 in the morning there, so we really appreciate you guys joining. So this is just a bit of an overview of the sort of timeline. So the competition will launch tomorrow, and the applications will close on Wednesday, the 29th of January. We will then go through a judging period with the judges. We'll do a due diligence process, and then in the spring, we'll be announcing the winners. Following the announcement of the selection of the winners, we'll create a more detailed campaign plan, and we've got partners such as Black Sands who have supported us with the event today, and other key partners that we work with that can help finalize those plans if needed. And then we'll have a winners event online. So we had a winners event in November last year for the first cohort of winners, and it was a great way to introduce the different teams to each other, for them to learn from each other and engage with the different projects that are happening. And then the campaign should be delivered within 6 months, a 6-month period from the point of the grant being issued. If we can go on to the next slide, please, Hamish. Okay, so one of the most important things to us in this competition is that we get as good a global representation as we can. So we've decided to separate the regions into 7. This is as per the World Bank definition. And we're really hoping to get one winner from each region. That's what we would really like. Last year, I think it was 5 regions that were represented within the winning within the winning teams. So we'd really like to get full global representation this time. But if we can't, then we will get as good as possible. So have a look at which region you're in, and that's where you are currently based and where the activity will be based for the campaign that you're running. If we go to the next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about the eligibility criteria. So as this is a youth summit, we really want the teams to be made up of 18 to 35-year-olds. So the majority of your team should be within that age bracket. Teams need to be of 3 or more people. And you'll have the opportunity to bid for up to £7,500. So each region has the chance to win £7,500 as a grant to deliver their campaign idea. And teams will need to be associated with or part of or have an agreement with a legally registered organisation. So if you're a AMR student group, it might be that your university is that legally registered organisation and they're the ones who will manage the funds and the contracting with the Trinity Challenge, and then it'll be their responsibility to disseminate the money to you and your team so that you can deliver the campaign. If we move on to the next slide, please. So these are the key criteria for evaluation. So we want your idea to be innovative. If you ask me, the weirder the better. I love something that is different that other people aren't doing, and we had a lot of that in the first cohort, loads of really great original ideas. We want to know what the impact is going to be, so who and how you'll reach people to raise awareness of AMR effectively. The feasibility will be assessed, so making sure that what you're proposing is practical and sustainable for the full time of the campaign, and it's something that's sort of realistically deliverable. Collaboration, we want to see, like I said already, young people in the team. We want to see you collaborating with students or other youth organizations, bringing in experts, whether it's AMR experts or campaigning experts or people like that. So make sure that you consider collaboration in your application, and then how you're presenting it. So the clarity, the persuasiveness, and the professionalism of the pitch. So that'll be within the application that you do, and then later on during the application process as well. And like I said, global representation will be considered during the evaluation process. On to the next slide, please. So Q&A. So if you've got any questions about the competition or the topic area or anything, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A function now. You should have a little Q&A speech bubble with a question mark in it at the bottom of your screen, and feel free to ask any questions there. Oh, everybody's responded to the poll. While we're waiting to see if there's any questions, I can give you the results of the poll. So let's share the results. So hopefully you're seeing this now. So we've had 21 people voted for the antibiotic stewardship and 19 for promote biosecurity. So thank you everyone for voting. We'll take these votes and we will add them to the votes that come in the second session, and then we will have our overall winner that will be announced tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you for engaging with that. Okay, and it looks like we've had 2 more votes for antibiotic stewardship received offline. So people who've messaged us directly saying that they can't use the voting tool. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A, so that's absolutely fine. I know it's been a lot of information for you to take in. And so go away, learn about what the competition question is tomorrow. Keep an eye on our social media channels. And then next Thursday, is Thursday right? We're holding a Q&A webinar at 2:30 GMT time. Again, this will be recorded, but this just gives you an opportunity to come to us, ask questions. Once you've seen the application form, once you've had a thought about which topic has been selected and what your ideas are, who you want to work with, then you can come to the Q&A webinar on Thursday, the 23rd of January, and you can ask us any questions that you have there. I'm seeing a question from Ridwan asking about the open grant competition. Yes, so the grant competition will open tomorrow, and that's what the topic is that we've just selected. We're waiting for this afternoon's session to take place, and then we'll have the final topic, and we'll announce that via email and on our social media. And so you'll be able to apply for the grant funding of £7,500, and that grant is available to each global region. So there's 7 pots of money to be granted to the winning team in that region, and we really hope to give out all 7 pots. So I think people are asking in the chat. Yes, the application form will go out tomorrow with all the other details. So I will email everybody who has attended this event with all that information, and also it will go out on our social media and website. So just keep an eye out on everything tomorrow. Yes, if you want to read about last year's winners, then you are welcome to, and you can see that link that Louise has dropped into the chat. Very helpful. Okay, following this event, you will be asked to complete a survey. We would really appreciate it if you could take the time to complete that. It just gives us a learning opportunity to find out what worked well, what didn't work well, and what we can do better for next time. We're really keen to continue engaging with young people and continue to strengthen and grow this network of global youth organisations working to mitigate AMR. So if you can answer the questions in there, that would be great. Oh, I'm seeing yes, Jude, I've seen your question, and yes, the competition will be based on the winning topic, but we have to consider the winning topic from both sessions, so this morning session and this afternoon session, and then we'll add the results together and have that final winning topic. So just wait for tomorrow morning and the details of that will be released. Great question, thanks. Okay, if you have enjoyed yourself and had a good time, please let us know by posting on social media. You can use the hashtags Trinity Challenge and the hashtag TTC Youth. And then if we go to the next slide, you can see all of our handles, and they're also here, helpfully, where I am speaking. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on Facebook. And we'd really love you to follow us on these channels so that you can continue to be a part of the Trinity Challenge community. So finally, before we end, I'd just really like to thank all of our facilitators and scribes for taking the time to join us this morning. Thank you to all the attendees and to all of our speakers, and special thanks to Hamish, who's in the background helping me with all the tech. It always helps to have somebody there. I think Hamish is just dropping the links into our social media now, so feel free to take a look at that. Thank you to everyone for joining. It's really exciting to be doing another competition and grant funding, and we can't wait to see all the amazing ideas that you've got. And I think that's everything. If anyone has any final comments, then please pop them into the chat. But if not, the afternoon link, if you want to join the afternoon session because you've had so much fun here today, if you go to our website, then you can book your place on the afternoon session as well, and the joining link will be sent direct to you from Eventbrite. I will just pull up the link to where you can book now. And we would love to have you join in as well. So the link that I've just put into the chat will take you to where you can register for this afternoon session if you so wish. Okay, thank you everybody, and we will maybe see you this afternoon, but hopefully hear from you when the competition launches, and would love to get your application. Thanks everybody, and have a great day, or evening, or afternoon, or hopefully you're going to bed now, to those in South America. Thanks everyone.